What's up, Hoodats? Whoever thought a 17-7 outcome would be so satisfying? The black and gold getting into the win column. Steve Geller, Jeff Nowak, coming to you after a victory. Jeff, bringing home the dub from Carolina. How was it out there?
I did bring home the dub personally. I just picked it up and carried it home. I'm in such a good mood, man. I'm on like 3 hours of sleep. I was working till 2 a.m., 3 a.m. I slept for 3 hours, woke up, it's 30 degrees, but I am in a fantastic mood. And it's just like, that's what winning football games does, man. Like, I'm not even one of these like live or die, freak out after everything, but like, it's just the like endorphins that come with winning a football game and playing well, right? Winning it in a fun way. It's just like, this is what it's supposed to feel like. This is, it's easy to forget we watch football games to be entertained, right? That's what it's about. And I don't know. That was just at least as far from a Saints fan perspective. The Panthers fans were none too pleased. But like, I don't know if I like, that's the most fun I've had watching a Saints football game in quite some time. Even the games they've won over the past few years have felt miserable. I mean, I guess probably Dallas week 2 of last year, but now in retrospect, that was the biggest red herring of all time. I feel abused by that memory at all.
Those first 2 games is like the weirdest. It feels like a dream sequence ever, and then it was like, what happened?
Yeah, and I remember being there like, wow, this team might go to the Super Bowl. Genuinely, that thought went through my mind. Like, is this the best team in the NFL? Narrator, they were not. But yeah, no, I mean, and what makes it different is, and we'll talk plenty of Tyler Shough, but like, you can be 2-8 in a lot of different ways, right? Being 2-8 with the feeling that maybe, just maybe, you found a franchise quarterback feels so much different. And like, nationally, no one's talking about Tyler Shough because everyone's already tuned out the Saints. Like, they don't care. But I think anyone who pays attention to this team, watch that, and you're just like, your eyes opened up. Like, that's what a franchise quarterback is supposed to look like, you know? And
I feel like there was a few national folks going Tyler Shough, you know, with the eyes, and like they saw a little something too.
Well, Louis Riddick is like the biggest Tyler Shough stan of all time. It's actually hilarious. And so he will single-handedly get the Tyler Shough conversation on a lot of networks just because he wants to be like, guys, I've been telling you like this for months and months and months. So get at me. And yeah, no, I just, and again, we'll talk a lot about this, but it's just funny how quickly things can change from a sentimentality perspective.
Oh man.
And, you know, I was out obviously in Carolina yesterday, and if you had told me last year at this time that Panthers fans would be actively booing angrily their own team because they're 5-5, I would have been like, you're crazy. This team, this fan base, they'd be thrilled to be 5-5. No, they were so angry. There was a guy down by the field who was like actively like cursing out Chris Rumpf. And I was like, dude, Chris Rumpf like played college in this state. He played for Duke, man. Like, you should be saying, hey, you know? And he was like, I'm from Asheville. And I'm like, get out of here, you weirdo. But they were angry. They were angry. A Panthers team that hasn't been good in like 2 decades is booing their team because they're losing to the Saints. And this is what I said a couple months back. And when I predicted a 4-win team, is that one of the perks of being a 4-win team is that if you go on the road and beat any team at any point,
you ruin them. Yeah,
because they spent all week being like, well, at least we got the Saints. We're finally going to win a game. Like, this should be an easy game. Oh, it's just, I don't know. It's the small things, right? It's what gets you through the year. And you can see, I don't know if I've been in this good of a mood in months.
Yeah, and I mean, we knew things were going to be difficult against the Rams and lighten up, but now you appreciate the whole dipped into molten lava in that start, and going into this matchup, you definitely saw a different guy, and obviously it was a much different defense he was facing too.
Yeah. And like we're gonna talk, like everyone's gonna be talking about Tyler Shough. The defensive performance was the real star of that day. And that was despite some really brutal situations. Like I've never seen a blocked kick be that detrimental before. But hey,
Saints football, baby.
Yeah. You'll learn a new rule. That's the thing. If you watch the Saints for long enough, you're going to learn a lot of new rules that you did not have any clue existed. Which apparently, like I assumed that when you blocked the field goal, it was dead. Like I didn't even think it was possible for the other team to get it back. Now I know it is possible.
It is possible.
and like we can be mad at the refs. The refs actually called it correctly, but yeah. Anyway, but if there isn't,
but of course, that kind of play happens against the Saints, and you're like, it's just befuddling and almost like, how can you make up something here to screw us again?
But man, if like football karma exists, that's what it is, right? Like they got a fumble like 4 plays later. And I am wearing my Cam Jordan Day shirt because he got a sack, and even though he was the guy who technically turned that ball over, I'm still gonna give him the Cam Jordan Day treatment. But all right, we're gonna have a lot to talk about. I want to get into Tyler Shough mainly in this first segment because it's a whole conversation of its own, and so I want to separate that from the stock up, stock down segment. So we'll do that in the back half of the program. Then I'll be doing a solo mailbag because Steve has, fatherly duties he has to take care of, which good for you, man. But
kid got away with no school today, but he still got football practice.
Yeah, well, it's dedication. That's dedication. But all right, who dat? Go Saints! Saints win 17-7.
Who dat?
It's what we dreamed about. Look at us. Look at us.
Look at us.
All right. Who dat? Go Saints. We'll be right back.
Shough out of the shotgun, takes the snap. Panthers bring 4. Shough rolls to his left, now throws it up, and he's got Juwan Johnson down the left sideline. Touchdown, New Orleans.
When I clicked on that clip, I wasn't sure which Shough to Johnson clip it was. I thought for a second it might be the first 3rd and 12, but it was the second 3rd and 12. Which, what are the odds? You have 2 3rd and 12, Shough to Juwan. It's just it's a dream.
That third down play is when there was that light from above in the heavens, and you heard the harps and the music and the moment, and it was like, oh, there's something there. There's something.
It was beautiful.
Yeah,
but,
right.
And we're back on Inside Black and Gold. If you hadn't figured that out yet, I'm Jeff Nowak. He is Steve Geller, and yeah. So this whole segment, I mean, like Tyler Shough deserves his own segment on this podcast, on this post-game podcast. So that's what I want to make this about, is the Tyler Shough experience. It was easy to come out of that Rams game and be negative just because so much negative stuff happened. But when you went back and watched, you were like, you know what? I think he played well. I think he handled a difficult situation and made the right decisions. Like there's some games, there's just nothing you can do, right? Some games, it's just you are fated to lose. And that was the case. You went out to LA, nothing worked. You had the 3 and outs, like first career start, just wasn't pretty. But you saw how he settled into that game, and you kind of felt like, okay, you go out to Carolina, you have some things on tape, you have some things you improve on. And, the first drive for the defense kind of was like, oh, here we go again. And then you get into a 3rd and 12 right off the bat, and you're like, the Panthers got a sack. to get you into 3rd and 12, and you're just like, oh God, it's happening again. And then the biggest difference in terms of that game versus the Saints offense we saw over the first 8+ weeks of the season, you got into 3rd and 12 and you made a play. And not just a play. You broke out of a sack. You kept both hands on the freaking ball, which I like to see. You slid over. You didn't scramble. You don't want to scramble on 3rd and 12. You're not getting there, right? Like, you need to stay behind the line of scrimmage and try to make a play. And that's what he did. And he found Juwan Johnson, who turns upfield. It turned out the Jets, man. That's a 52-yard catch and run. So you went from a negative situation to a positive situation like that. And that's what a quarterback who stays composed, who finds a play, can do for you. The Saints started this season 1 for 27 in terms of converting on 3rd and 7 or longer. They converted on 4 of 5 3rd and 6 or longers in this game. I'm not going to shortchange them on the 3rd and 6 just because it wasn't a 7. Like, and it started from the beginning. Like, that play happened, and it was like, well, okay, I can deal with this. They didn't score a touchdown on that drive, and we got more to say about that. But, like, it was the type of kind of individual effort that you watch other games around the league, and you see like a Pat Mahomes making that type of play, or whoever, pick a quarterback, Josh Allen, like they get into those situations, and you just feel like this guy's gonna find a way. And at least for one day, it felt like the Saints had a quarterback who was capable of finding a way in those situations. And when you feel that way, everything feels a little brighter. The sun's shining brighter. You're happier. You wake up in the morning like a pep in your step, even when it's like 30 degrees outside. I'm not cold. The animals are cold. My dog's got a sweater on, but I'm not. I'm feeling good. And it's the
Shuckonomics of it all.
The Shuckonomics. That's a good one. It's like Freakonomics, but with Shuck. No, man. How did you, like, the post game must have been fun? Like, how was the vibe from the callers and everything?
No, I think that was definitely a huge, I guess one of the main positives to take away was the fact that folks felt like, all right, maybe the Saints did find something in this guy in Shough. Like you mentioned, that first game was a real nightmare all the way around against a team that we'll see how far the Rams end up going the postseason. They're definitely a legitimate contender at this point of the year. Stafford having another amazing day yesterday for them. But just, you wanted to see more of Shough, and then now going into a game against a divisional team that had just come off a really tough game in Lambeau Field.
Yep. Somehow
that Panthers squad beats the Packers in Lambeau. What? Because one thing too, what Bobby was saying is like the Saints looked like the 5-win team, and the Panthers looked like the 1-win squad. And man, the optimism grew so much, I think, from everyone what they saw in Shough in that game.
Yeah, no, I agree with that completely. And what makes it even better in terms of like how we get to experience this is you get 2 weeks. Like, they can't hurt us next week. All we have now is like, we can just move forward and say optimism. Like, this is when, like, when you're 1-8, there's very few opportunities to build this level of positivity around your team. But winning the way they did, going into a bye, like, I had so many players throughout the week. I asked like this question a few different ways, and Demario Davis, Cam Jordan, like whoever, we kind of heard the same thing, which was like, we went out to Carolina last year and it was bleak, man. Like, they were 2-7. They had they're 2-6 because they had lost 6 straight games. That was their 7th straight loss. It was like everyone could kind of see the firing of the head coach was coming. It was just a question of when. And the vibes in the locker room were just not good. Rizzy was able to kind of rescue it, and they won a game coming back to end that streak and whatever. But like, it was very clear that things were not going well. And that was not the case this year. Like, even with the record, like, the room wasn't fracturing. Or this is what I was being told. Like, everyone was kind of on the same page. The energy was good. The work was getting done. Just wasn't showing up on the field. And, it's easy to say that, and then you kind of roll your eyes like, yeah, sure. Like, okay. Sure. I mean, you're 1-8,
Good
guys.
company
like,
line.
How positive can it be? But then you see them go out and play a game like that. And I don't think you play that game if guys are going through the motions. Like, I think you play that game because you are doing things the right way, and maybe the Panthers thought they were going to walk in there and skate on by, and that just did not happen. You didn't allow that to happen. And when you see what a quarterback, you look what Jackson Dart did for the Giants, and obviously the Giants have ended up in a bad way. They just fired their coach today, but the positivity that a quarterback that's kind of giving you juice can bring on both sides of the ball, and they feed off each other. Like, we say the words complementary football so much that it kind of loses all meaning. But that's what that was. It was the offense supporting the defense, supporting the offense, supporting the defense. And yeah, I mean, and so now I believe it. I do believe that the vibes are good in the locker room because, again, I don't think you play that game the way you did if they aren't.
I just know they don't look like a team that's quit on the year. People want to talk about mailing it in. And that was the one, you get every one out of few texts on the line, and the post-game show is going to be nasty. And someone wants to be like, oh, what's the point of this? Just ruining the number 1 pick overall that you were going to have in the draft. And if you're going to think about holding on to the number 1 draft pick in the draft right now with so much football left to play, it's pretty disgusting to think you're just gonna just shovel it on in the rest of the way this season.
Well, that's why, I was talking last week. I can't remember if I brought it up on the podcast or if I was just ranting to someone that didn't want to hear what I had to say. Like, so many people were talking about, the Saints should trade back with the Jets because the Saints are going to get the number 1 overall pick and they can get so many assets from the Jets. And I was like, you guys really think the Saints are going to be behind the Jets? No. Like, it was so early in the season. It's like, yeah, they're projected there now because of the record. There's wins on the back end of the schedule. And this was not necessarily one of them, in my opinion, just based on the way the Panthers were playing, right? But, like, you're going to play the Titans and you're going to play the Jets. And I'll tell you, the Jets are very invested in getting that number 1 overall pick.
It's all different right now when you got someone to shuck it up with.
Yeah, and here's the thing. The number 1 pick doesn't necessarily matter if you don't feel like you need to draft a quarterback. And I don't mean it's like you don't want it. Of course you want it. But if you go into that draft feeling like we don't need to draft a quarterback, then the world is your oyster, man. Like, there's so many routes you could take because you also feel like I got the tackles. So if you go into it, like, what are the things the Saints, teams that need these things have to draft? If you do not have a quarterback, you have to draft a quarterback if you're in the top 5, assuming the quarterback is there, which in most cases will be there. If you don't have both tackles established, you probably need to draft a tackle. And you got to keep doing it until you get that offensive line sorted out. Well, at least today, it feels like the Saints could go into that draft not feeling like they need to draft a quarterback, not feeling like they need to draft a tackle. And that's how you can end up intelligently with an elite playmaker, right? Like, I don't want to see the Saints draft a top 10 running back, but when you go into a draft and you have those premium positions established, and then you could come out with the top wide receiver or the top cornerback even, or the top edge rusher, like, that's how you build a star-laden roster. That's why, Marshawn Lattimore, right? You picked him at number 11. You wanted to take Mahomes. You ended up with Marshawn, and we were like, okay, pretty good deal. And when you can draft a guy that high, like, it's hard to miss that high, Now you still can.
Right, for sure.
But, yeah, let's hear what Deuce had to say. Deuce was asked about the quarterback. You asked Deuce about the quarterback in the post game. This is what he said.
Thought he did a good job. I mean, I thought, the biggest asset for him was being able to continue to keep his eyes down the field, being able to find some guys on third down. I mean, that's where the Saints made their money. When they got in third and medium, or even third and long situations, they were able to convert those throws. And, just him navigating the pocket, being able to feel the pressure, understanding and knowing where my outlets are as far as some of my release guys, and, just giving my guys a chance to make a play. You look at the Chris Olave touchdown. touchdown. That's a one-on-one play. I mean, it was a double move, and he tried to give his receiver a chance to go make a play on the ball, and Chris is able to do so. And, the same thing with Juwan on that touchdown. He was able to buy a little time, and the defender that was covering Juwan fell down. Well, guess what? Shough kept his eyes down the field, and he found him, and he was able to hit him, and Juwan goes in for the touchdown. So really nice job by the rookie, not allowing the pressure to kind of affecting him, and he was poised enough to be able to continue to move the ball down the field, or at least keep his eyes down the field to be able to push it down the field.
Yeah, on both touchdowns, the Panthers defender just fell down. But what I appreciated about the Olave one too was that he wasn't running by himself. Like, it wasn't wide open. He threw him open. Like, it was a one-on-one situation. He gave him a chance, and Olave went and made a play. And that's what you want to see a quarterback do. Like, you can't only throw to guys that are wide open. Like, you got to trust, hey, that's my guy. He's going to go, he's going to track that ball. He's going to make a play on that ball better than that DB can do that. That's why he's playing defensive back and that guy's playing wide receiver. And, seeing a guy in his second career start have that type of confidence, that's a positive. Deuce mentioned the third down, so I do want to go through the list. Okay, so the Saints faced 3rd and 6 or longer 6 different times. One of them was a 3rd and 7 that Tyler actually scrambled for first down. It was called back on a hold. So that created a 3rd and 17. So we can eliminate that and say 5. This is how they won. 3rd and 12, deep to Juwan Johnson. That was the play that he kind of fought through. And I mean, there was pressure. And keep in mind, he's doing this with Luke Fortner at center, with Austin Richards at right tackle, with Dylan Radins at left guard. Like, that's not the group you went into this season feeling like, that's the winning scenario. So that's a plus 52 that was created out of nothing. Like, that's not who the play was designed to go to. We just found Juwan Johnson. 3rd and 8. This is the next 3rd and long they faced. That's the deep throw to Chris Olave we were just talking about. So you faced a 3rd and 12 and a 3rd and 8, and your results are 2 for 2 for 114 yards and a touchdown. Next play, 3rd and 6. Shough extends again, finds Devin Neal for plus 10, first down. And it's a good example of, like, what can accuracy do for a quarterback. Like, if you throw that ball to Devin Neal and he has to fight it, he can't catch it on the run, he probably gets tackled short of the first down. You put it out in front of him, catches it on the run, he gets a first down. Like, you probably added 5 yards to that play by putting it in the right spot. So another good play from the quarterback. Next one was the 3rd and 7. You had the hold. 3rd and 17. This is in the third quarter. I believe it's the opening possession of the third quarter. Probably a dangerous throw. Probably a throw that didn't need to be made, but it was a seed, like right in between 2 defenders to Devon Villay. Plus 15, 4th and 2. You decide not to go for it. It probably sets up an easier punt situation. But even then, it's like that's the example of not converting on a 3rd and long is 15 yards on 3rd and 17. And then finally, 3rd and 12, the deciding play of the game, really. I mean, it's 10-7 at that point when you kind of extend, and one thing I talked about Shough in the preseason that I liked is he just has this natural ability to kind of slide left and right, keep his shoulders square to the line of scrimmage, and that allows him to throw quickly when he sees someone open. It's not, I got to reset, I got to do this. It gives guys time to break on the ball. You're throwing an inaccurate ball because you're not square. No, I mean, he's able to throw quickly and on target, on the run. He's drifting left. He puts it right on Juwan, who turns upfield for the touchdown. Like, in 3rd and medium to long situations, 3rd and 6 or longer, Tyler Shough, 5 for 5 for 169 yards, 3 first downs and a touch and 2 first downs and 2 touchdowns. You win games when you do that.
Gotta love it. No, overall, the whole takeaway from this game was, man, you're almost sad at a point that the bye week's here because you're so anxious to see now of what Shough can do.
No, I'm not. I'm happy. I'm thrilled because the bye week had to happen at some point.
Oh yeah,
and going into it with this type of performance, because here's the thing, it's not always going to feel this way. Like, everyone's going to get super excited, and then Tyler's going to go out against the Falcons and, I don't know, probably struggle. Like he's a rookie quarterback. He's going to have struggles. And one thing that Tyler's benefiting from right now that will not always be the case is opposing defenses don't really know what he likes to do, how he reacts to certain situations, what routes he likes to target, how he likes to scramble. It's not on tape, right? And even the one game you'd have if you're the Panthers was that kind of weird game against the Rams. You ran 40 plays. That's not the offense. Like, that's not a good example of how he's going to play on schedule and when the offense is actually running its game plan. So there's a lot of mystery, and mystery always works to the advantage of the mysterious team. Like, the Saints knew exactly what the Panthers wanted to do on defense. The Panthers had no clue how the Saints were going to attack it. That's not always going to be the case, right? Now the Falcons, they don't have 2 weeks because they don't have a bye, but, they're going to have a whole lot of tape to go back and say, okay, this is how he dealt with this. This is how we dealt with this. And they're going to take stuff away, right?
Did you see Bryce Young post-game at all?
Sorry, hold on. Still dealing with allergies, but yeah, he was none too pleased.
Yeah, he looked pretty defeated. Like, I'd never seen him so exhausted, basically, to do the deal. And he's just like, let me get this, over with. What you got, and hit it. It was just like, it's on me. I got to do this. I got to do that.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly Mike Tomlin, but he was giving me some Mike Tomlin energy, which is like, you're going to ask a question, he's going to answer it with 6 words. It's going to be the same thing every time until you just give up.
Yeah.
Did you see Mike Tomlin's interview after the Packers? Or
after the
game? He was asked about Aaron Rodgers' performance, and he was like, how would you assess Aaron Rodgers' performance? Next. It's like what? Being a jerk, man. But no, he was upset. And, it's just funny. Like, Drew Brees, I feel like, and Russ to some extent, but like Russ we're kind of seeing now, like, was a product of that Seahawks system a little bit more than it might have seemed at the time, because he had that elite defense and they were able to build a team around him. But like, people have fooled themselves into thinking like the non-prototypical quarterback build can have success regularly in the NFL. Like, you've seen Kyler Murray go number 1 overall. You've seen Bryce Young go number 1 overall. And you see, and it's like, people have fooled themselves into thinking the exception is the rule. Like, there's no reason to think that this guy, despite being tiny, can't have elite success in the NFL, because I saw Drew Brees do it, because I saw Russ do it. But that's so rare. But we still get in these situations, right? And you watch Tyler Shough operate, and then you watch Bryce Young operate, and it's like, doesn't everything just seem a heck of a lot easier for the 6'5" guy? Like, being 6'5" does not mean you're going to be an elite quarterback, but it does mean everything you're trying to do is simpler. When you can operate within the pocket so much easier. Like, the biggest struggle that guys like Kyler, that guys like Bryce, hey, Drew made a career out of standing on his tiptoes and going like, okay, like, and he was such a maniacal preparation guy that he didn't necessarily need to see guys open. He knew where they were going to be. But it's so difficult for a quarterback to make a throw over the middle of the field when he cannot see the guy he's throwing to. And that's the case a lot of the time with guys like Russ, with guys like Bryce, with guys like Kyler. And they have to actually fade left and right to create throwing lanes because they just can't see. And like, that's, if you were dropped out of the sky, you'd never watched a football game in your life, and you said one of these guys was the number 1 pick in the draft, he's in year 3, he's figuring it out, or he should be figuring it out. Like, this is when he's trying to play for that contract. The other guy is a rookie in his 2nd career start. Who is it? Which is which?
No, Panthers fans, I know, have got to be feeling awful about what they're seeing from Bryce.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because they're a good team in the sense that they're 5-5. They beat the Packers last week on the road, but Bryce threw for 102 yards in that game.
And I thought, like, Rico Dowdle was going to be this football juggernaut. Definitely, I mean, we'll definitely that'll be part of stock up for sure. But man, oh man, that was a huge relief. Thinking that, the run game of the Panthers was going to be so menacing, and the Saints did a hell of a job against it.
Yeah, no, I have a lot to say about the defense, but I do want to wait for the stock up segment to get to that, which we'll cut the segment off here. But just for the stats, right? So Bryce Young, 17-25, 124 yards and interception. Quarterback rating is 62.8. He was sacked twice. Tyler Shough, 19-27, 282 yards, 2 touchdowns. Quarterback rating 128.9. He was sacked a couple times. Yeah, he was sacked twice. And what was surprising to me, and what's always kind of bugged me about Bryce, is he's not evasive, really. Like Kyler, when you watch him play, you're like, he's always a risk to take off and run for 50 yards. He has that like Super Mario like speed,
Right.
And he kind of runs with his arms, like, it's like all lower body, like his upper body doesn't move at all. Bryce is just kind of there. Bryce is like he can run, but it's like that's not part of his game, and it shouldn't be, because if he gets hit one time, I mean, we saw this. The refs felt bad for him. DeMario Davis hitting too hard.
Oh man, that was disgusting.
Where do you tackle a guy that's that small? Like his like the like radius that you can hit him is like 2 inches, but yeah, I think that's kind of my undistilled brain dump on how I feel about the quarterback. But like, remember, this is not always going to be perfect. That's why I was texting you last night. Like, I'm resisting the urge to go back and find all the receipts from like the draft time when I was like, I like this pick because I predicted it. But there's so much left. It's the challenge for Shough now is the standard has been raised so quickly that he's going to have to come out and deliver on it. And if he does that, it's, like you're setting sail, like you're moving.
I kind of half jokingly text you, but yeah, folks are going to get mad when this team shucks around and all of a sudden they end up with 6 wins on the year.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, here's the thing. It's easy to look at it right now. It's like, they might win all their games.
They're not losing ever again, Jeff.
But like, there's going to be a game that he goes out and the defense kind of catches him. He plays like a rookie, throws a couple interceptions. Like, those games happen to everyone. It's going to happen to a rookie quarterback. And I do want to set the tone of like, that's not going to be the end of the world if and when it happens. Like, if he goes out and struggles against the Falcons, everyone's going to come crashing down. You're still going to be in that same spot where you're building to something. And what Tyler did with this game was not prove to you he's the next coming of whoever. It's not prove to you that he is the unquestioned franchise quarterback for however long. It's give you a belief and confidence that there's actually a road to potentially get there. How you get down that road, whether you fall into a pothole on the way, whether you blow a tire or two, like, we'll have to find that out as we go. But proving the road exists is the first step. And I think that's what he did with this game. That's the metaphor I'll use. And like, and just that alone is enough to energize a fan base and to make you feel like better days are ahead. Now there's other things that worry me, but that's why I'm so positive right now.
No, and then, the kid gets his second career start, first win, and you got a back half of the season. Let's be honest. When you looked at the schedule, you knew it lightened up at this point, and there's a lot of very winnable games. And who's not to say this team's finding its mojo at the right time, or not at the right time, but right at the final stretch of the year.
Yeah, the right time would have been about a month ago.
Yeah, right.
The right time is any time before 1-8. But hey, and I actually think, like, and I said this from the beginning, I like the decision to have him sit and wait, and I think that's a big part of why you sent him in there and he looked ready to go. I do think that it's like, I feel bad for Spencer in that it's like being played like he was terrible and Shough is great. The competition matters. And in hindsight, when you look at the schedule that the Saints played to open the season, like the Cardinals game notwithstanding, like they've kind of fallen off without Kyler, but like 49ers have just been winning games left and right with Mac Jones. The Seahawks are like blowing people out.
Right.
The Patriots are a machine right now. The Rams might be the Super Bowl favorite. The Bears keep winning. Like, so that's that first half of the Bills. Just the Josh Allen and the Bills. So like that first half schedule looked tough going in, and it turned out to be even tougher. And the one that, easy game per se, you won with the Giants, right? So he was kind of set up to fail, and I do feel bad about that. But at the same time, like, just the way the offense was operating, it felt very capped. And you can see some differences already in terms of how it's operating. And I do think, like, the Saints are in a good position. If Tyler ends up being the guy and Spencer Rattler ends up being like a high-level backup with 14 games of experience that you can rely on in that role. Think about this. Andy Dalton is making $4 million this year. 38-year-old Andy Dalton as your backup will cost you $4 million a year. Those guys are expensive. You got to pay them. The Saints, if they roll forward with Tyler Shough as their starter and Spencer Rattler as their backup, again, a guy with 14 games of experience, which is pretty good for a backup quarterback at any stage of their career. Their quarterback room, assuming without Jake Hain or whatever, their top two quarterbacks will cost them $3.5 million next year. Their top two quarterbacks, again, if they don't draft a quarterback, will cost you less than one 38-year-old Andy Dalton. That is the closest thing to a salary cap cheat code you will find. So, like, and because I'm not going to tear down Spencer Rattler just to prop up Tyler Shough. I like what Spencer did. I think he played well. I think he's a high-level backup in the NFL with potential to develop into something more if he gets another opportunity. If Tyler gets hurt mid-game and they have to turn to Spencer, I feel confident that he can go in there and run the offense and potentially finish off a game. I always look at the Packers game in week 3 a couple years ago where you were up 17-0. All you needed was like 1 or 2 scoring drives to ice that game, and you didn't get them. If you put Spencer in that situation, I think he could finish off a game, and that's what I want a backup to be able to do. So I think this team has the makings of a really kind of strong quarterback room, and Spencer's a big part of that. So I don't want to hear like, Spencer sucks. Like, I don't like that because I think he did a lot of good things as well.
I hear you, but I'm definitely all aboard the Shough train. I feel like Coach, at least Kellen Moore, he's got his guy in. We saw what the offense was able to do against an NFC South foe on the road, a team that notoriously has been a pain in your side because it is a divisional game. And you went out there and you pulled out an exciting 17-7 game, Jeff. I've never been so entertained by 17-7.
Yeah, and to be clear, I'm not saying go back to Spencer. I'm just saying, like, you need a backup quarterback. The backup quarterback is a valuable piece in your team. That's why Tyrod Taylor has been making $8 million a year for the past decade.
You got Jake Hainer shrugging in the background going, hey, what about me?
Hey, I mean, as far as third quarterbacks go, and whatever. But either way, that's kind of where I am with it. And hey, it should have been 24. I'll give them 17 doesn't sound like a lot, but when you consider they ran out the final 8 minutes of that game, the score is kind of misleading in that way. It should have been a 17-0 game if all the Saints do is not hit Bryce too hard.
Well, that one was legit.
Yeah, he hit him in the face. It was a penalty. It was just a stupid penalty.
The other one, not so much.
Yeah, the second one was just okay. You feel bad for him. It wasn't as bad as the one on Dart, but it was close. But all right. Who dat? Go Saints. Should we come back with the stock up or stock down? I'll let you decide, Steve.
Down.
Okay, let's get negative. I don't know why I always go to that song. Either way, who dat? Go Saints. Make sure to subscribe. Otherwise, we will be right back. I frozen?
No.
I blame ESPN. It's like it's you open that website and 90 different videos start playing at once. The fall off is real. And we're back on Inside Black and Gold. Jeff Nowak here alongside Steve Geller. We are reacting to Saints 17 Little Carolina Kitty Cats, which has never felt more appropriate. They went off very me in a 17-7 result. I feel bad for Dez. He came on. I was so excited. He was so excited. He was so happy to finally have a team that was fun, and that was people are talking about positively, and then he's never going to want to come on with us again.
Yeah, he's like he was in the spot we were in. He knows how we're in that dark hole of a hole we're in right now. And I was like, well, really, the Panthers aren't that much better, but whatever.
Well, it is so funny because he's right in the sense that last year around this time, like the win over the Saints kind of was the catalyst for that team to finish that season strong. And they kind of rolled that into this year, and they're still 5-5. They're still a potential playoff team. And so hopefully the Saints, like I was talking about this going in, hopefully the Saints are in the same spot and can use that win over the Panthers as that kind of springboard. We'll see. But we're time. It's time to get negative. We're getting into the stock down players. Stock down doesn't have to be a player, can be coach, can be whatever. For the Saints after the 17-7 win over the Panthers. So Steve, I'll give you the floor here. Tell me why you mad. As I think people do that segment. Like, well, what are you coming out of this game negative about? Even with the result.
What made me mad, and I get the play was, high effort by a really smart player, but man, Justin Reed, that face mask that overturns a beautiful pick too by Demario Davis, that extends a drive for them on the opening drive of the game. And obviously, yeah, they end up getting a touchdown out of it, their only score of the game. And you just felt like, oh no, here we go again. And then the Saints had that, the goal line where they were at the 2-yard line, couldn't get anything but a field goal out of it. So that's what really ticked me off to start the game was just, I was impressed that the team didn't let that swallow them up. They were able to overcome some of those negatives early on. But man, I from a veteran dude that you just rely on to make smart plays, Justin Reed having that really hurt.
So what are you? What would you say exactly you're down on? Like just like kind of execution in moments, like costly mistakes, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. I get the effort sometimes results in that aggressive play. You end up something like that happens. It's just unfortunate that the Saints seem to have that happen more often than not. It's never. You know what I mean? I don't know. That aggressive, tough play that you want to see doesn't necessarily have the results that should happen in the end.
Yeah, I think I agree in the because I had the way I phrased it was like costly mistakes. Like you had moments in the game, especially early on, that like you could have really taken control, and you didn't because of kind of stupid things like. The Demario Davis one in the fourth quarter where you got the roughing, like again, I think it was just kind of a soft call. It's hard to look at it and say you did anything wrong. But yeah, the Justin Reed one was just kind of a stupid thing to do. Like you just can't hit the guy in the face. Like, and it's a play that negated. Demario Davis. They have this whole thing where every turnover they get a different shirt, and so he had the white shirt. That was his first one. And because it's the standard, it says the standards takeaways. And now he had like a gray shirt on the other day because he got 2, and that would have been his third one. He got a black shirt. So Justin Reed cost Demario Davis his black shirt.
It was like such a pretty little, like perfect on his hip. I feel like it was just it looked like he was the receiver on her. It was so pretty, and I felt bad for Demario, obviously. And now, he doesn't get another notch on his black belt.
Yeah, black shirt. Black shirt. because that is the plan. Like once you get the black shirt, they just start adding because it says like I got 2 on the back of the one he had on. So the next one would be like I got 3, and then I think the idea would be after that you just like cross it out and say 4. It's kind of funny, but yeah, linebackers don't get a lot of interceptions. So you cost that man his moment. But it wasn't just Justin. Like there was some kind of, like you mentioned, you couldn't get in on the goal line. Like that's just not a good look. Like that's just, and you can say the offensive line is probably the reason you're struggling there. But what was I going to say? Oh, and then like what bothered me about the mistakes that cost you opportunities in this game was who it was from, right? So Justin Reed, who's the veteran, he's the one who's getting the roughing penalty that cost you the interception. Cam Jordan, who's the veteran, who should know all the rules in the book by now, doesn't have the wherewithal to just get away from the ball after the block field goal. Like even if you recover it, like what good is that? It was just kind of a reaction, and I understand it, like see ball, get ball kind of thing. But at the end of the day, like that costs you. And what you got to do, understand it. Like I'm not an NFL player. You're on special teams. You got to know all the rules. I didn't know that rule. Players on the field should know that rule. And it's like, get away from the ball. Instead, he tried to pick it up, and that cost you what would have been, at that moment, it kind of felt like a very significant momentum swing. It was a 3-point game at that point.
Right.
Now, football karma, the football gods shined on you, and you were able to get that turnover, which felt like a gift. Like they didn't cause it. Rico Dowdle just didn't take the ball from Bryce. It was a handoff. And like, well, that ball is on the ground. And
that
I do want to give a lot
on Bryce too.
Yeah, technically it's a Bryce Young fumble. I don't know who was actually at fault for it, and I do want to give props to Alontae Taylor in that moment, just as we're talking about it, because what he did, it might have been Jalen Coker. I think it was Jalen Coker who was coming around. And so, like, Alontae could have gone and recovered that ball. Instead, he was like, you know what? I'm just going to light up Jalen Coker and trust that my guys are going to go pick up this ball. And he did. And it was smart because Jalen was the closest guy to it. He saw it. So he could have just fallen on it. And Alontae made sure he didn't. And, like, Alontae's not going to get credit for a tackle or fumble recovery. Like, these guys get paid on stats. That's a really selfless thing to do, to blow up the guy rather than try to go get that ball. So I do want to give him credit for that. But no, and then DeMario, like, it's a soft penalty, but it's also like, did you even need to hit him in that moment? Probably not. So your 3 most senior veteran players, your 3 team captains, team leaders are the guys that cost you big moments. And that's disappointing, right?
I really have to look at that last one by DeMario again, because from what I saw, the limited replays during the game, I really didn't understand that at all, Jeff. It seemed like, what's supposed to happen there?
They just would rather you don't hit him at all, probably. And I get it. Like, it's annoying, but at a certain point, it's on the defense to understand, like, I just can't hit him in this situation. The ball was out. It's not like he had the ball. Like, just push him. Don't hit him. And I know that's not realistic, but at the same time, like, that's the NFL we play in. I say we. That's the NFL that exists.
That's the NFL we play in.
I'm getting a little too close to the action. I'm standing over there on the sideline, like, put me in, coach. I'm getting in fights with these idiots from Asheville. But no, I agree with you. Like, the costly mistakes, that's disappointing. And in a game where a lot went right, and you played well enough to overcome those mistakes, it's kind of nitpicky.
Yeah.
But like those types of things cost you games. And against a better team, like, you're probably not getting away with it.
And at the dreaded start of a game where we keep preaching fast starts, and you go and that crap happens. And you're like, wait a minute. No, why?
Oh, in that moment, I was like, here we go again.
Right.
And there was another one. Like, there was a 3rd and 8 on that drive too that, looked like they got off the field, but Brian Brzee gets called for a neutral zone infraction. So you turn a 3rd and 8 into a 3rd and 3 and they convert it. So that's another one. Like, that was that's what prevented a shutout. But all right. And that was one for me. So I'm glad you brought that up. Another one for me. Oh man, I wrote a lot. Why did I write so much?
Thankfully there wasn't a lot of negatives.
Right. It's nice to be in a situation where I had to like struggle to find all the negatives. I I didn't like a lot of the decision making from Kellen Moore, and it's been a kind of a theme throughout the course of this season. Is like there's a lot of things that, and it's his job to decide and make decisions based on how he feels things are going. But like I second guess a lot of it because a lot of it just doesn't make sense to me. Kicking a field goal at the 2-yard line is never the right call. Now, I say never. There are some minor exceptions. If you're kicking to take a lead at the end of the game, sure. If you're like running out the clock and whatever, and it's like a 20-yard field goal to take the lead in the final minute, okay. If it's the end of the half, if it's the end of the first half, and you just don't feel confident in your play call on 4th down, okay. Because you lose the advantage in that situation of forcing them to start to drive backed up, and you're just risking losing points. In any other instance, kicking a field goal at the 2-yard line is just, especially for a 1-8 football team, is just kind of cowardly. Because I would rather force them to start a drive at their 1-yard line than get 3 points and give them the ball at like the 30. And where they're a field goal or they're 2 first downs away from a field goal. Like, that's the wrong call. The Saints lead the NFL in field goal attempts under 30 yards. They've done it 7 times. It's the second time this year they've kicked from inside kicked from inside the 5-yard line. The other time was at the end of this first half against Seattle in a game they were down by like 25 points, and they kicked a field goal. So can you not? There was also the first decision of the game. So the last 2 weeks, the Saints have won the toss and taken the ball first to try to get off to a fast start. Hasn't worked. So they decided today to defer, which I agree with that. It was a smart move. But what they did after that was like mind-numbingly what to me? In that when you defer, you get to decide which side of the field you want to defend. So, and on this day in particular, there was like a consistent like 20-mile-per-hour wind that was blowing end zone to end zone. If it's sideline to sideline, it doesn't really matter which side you're going because you're affected kind of equally. In this case, it was a pretty direct wind from one end zone to the other. So your decision on which side to defend means that you get to choose whether you want to start with the wind at your back or whether you want to finish with the wind at your back. And teams should always want to play the fourth quarter of a game with the wind at their back. Because when it comes down to a field goal, you want to be kicking with the wind. And instead, and I don't know if this was because they were like, hey, we want to get off to a fast start, whatever. They decided to have the wind at their back in the first and third quarters. Like, this was their choice. And you saw in that game, they did not attempt 2 long field goals. One was like a 59-yarder, which even if you had the wind, you might not try. The other one was a 50-yarder. You're up 3 points, and you're going for it on like 4th and 6 rather than trying a 50-yard field goal because you're kicking into the wind. But and I don't disagree with the decision not to kick that field goal, but it shouldn't have been that decision because you should have had the wind. Like, and here's the thing, like all their points came when they were going against the wind. So it wasn't even an advantage because your touchdowns came in the second and fourth quarters. So it was just like, why would you not defend? I don't know. That just did not make sense to me. I asked him about it after the game. I did not get a satisfactory answer. I don't know if he completely understood what I was asking, but like, that's a mistake. That's just a mistake. Especially on a day like that. You know, there's also, some of the third down calls where it was like, hey, we're definitely going to go on 4th down. And it's like, we're just trying to make it shorter. It's like, sure, I understand that. But it was also like, you called like the same, like basic, like draw play twice in a row or on 2 instances like that. And there were both of the instances that you didn't kick the field goals. And in both instances, you got stopped for like no gain. And it's like, if you're going to do that, like get creative, like just these kind of basic, I don't know. Like there's a lot of decision making that's gone on this year with Kellen that I'm just not a fan of. And here's the thing, like I think you can get better at that as a coach. He's a first-year head coach. I just think this offseason, I really would hope that one of the things they try to do is bring in kind of like a game management czar who, whether it's leaning on analytics or whether it's just kind of saying like, hey, and just for example, like the Panthers last week, they chose to defend in such a way that they would have the wind at the end of the game, and they won on a walk-off field goal in Green Bay in a very similar situation. So like, I think Kellen could get better at that part of the game. I think part of it is acknowledging that it's just not all like some of these are mistakes, like just even week 1 where he didn't take the timeouts at the end of the first half. And, going to Tyler Shough after the first drive of the third quarter instead of going to him at halftime and stuff like that. Like just short-sighted decision-making that doesn't seem to compute. Needs to be
I also had a little bit of a issue with how Taysom Hill was weaved in and out. I just sometimes felt like you were stunting some of Tyler Shough's kind of momentum.
Yeah. And here's the thing, like a lot of this is nitpicky in a game that you won by 10 points and everything went well, but like this is the type of stuff that will lose you games down the road. Like if that game had gone down to a field goal and you miss directly into the wind because it's like you're setting your kicker up to fail, or the Panthers make a 65-yarder because they're kicking with the wind, like you realize how would you answer for that? Well, we wanted to get off to a fast start. Stop that. Play football. Stop trying to manufacture fast starts and just play football. Anyway, Taysom Hill. I agree, 100%. Continue. Like, how did you feel about Taysom in that game, and like what made you frustrated about it?
Well, there's no real surprise to it. Everybody knows what's coming, and like I said, when it's felt like, all right, Tyler Shough was getting into a rhythm or into a flow, I understand the need and the want to mix in Taysom Hill, but it didn't seem at the right moments.
Yeah. I need to go back and kind of get a handle on exactly when, like, it's tough to recall exactly the moments, but yeah, there was a few instances that I don't know if it was necessarily like, oh, it's a bad decision to go to Taysom here. More so that the Taysom plays have not been successful. And when they're not successful at the rate they have been unsuccessful, they're just setting the quarterback up for a bad situation.
Right.
Right.
And
like
Shough, you get to go back out there now.
Right. Like you're talking about a 2nd and 3. And it's like, oh, this is a premium. You can take a shot. Like this is a situation that you could play action and go deep, and you get a 1-yard run from Taysom Hill. And then it's like, okay, now you just get a 3rd down that you didn't even give the quarterback a chance to make a play on 2nd and short, which is a waste. There was a 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2, you get a 1-yard run and then have to go for it on 4th down anyway. And do you go to Taysom? No, you hand it to Alvin Kamara and he gets the 1st down. Right. Like, the most successful Taysom Hill plays from that game prior to that end of game drive was a inside handoff from Shough to Taysom on a 4th down that he converted, which was not pretty, but it worked. So not a technical Taysom QB rep, which is significant in the sense that when you put Taysom at quarterback, you're taking the quarterback off the field, or at least taking him out of the action. So you do disrupt the rhythm. And then the other one was a Taysom Hill handoff to Alvin Kamara that went for like 10 to 15 yards. So like even in the sense that the plays that worked weren't the kind of pigeonholed Taysom Hill plays. And I don't know about you. I just like, as much I appreciate all the work that Taysom Hill did to fight his way back. He's 34 years old. I can't remember. Like getting back from a knee injury and his situation, a significant knee injury, is admirable, and you appreciate it. And he's an important piece to this team, and there's still stuff he can do, but the juice isn't the same. Like,
right.
And I think they need to, they need to be more thoughtful about how they're using him. And like, he's no longer that kind of elite 4th down offense that they're
battering ram that he was, right?
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe over time they'd come back, but the problem is you're halfway through a season. He's not going to be back next year. I'd be stunned if he's back next year. So what are you gaining from it? I don't know. Like, is it worth disrupting the rhythm of a rookie quarterback that you're trying to develop? I'm starting to lose faith in that. Now, I do give him a lot of credit, and this is where I think he really shines, is when you're trying to run out the clock at the end of a game. Man, like that's beautiful, right? Like, because you're in situations where it's like you're running the ball either way. Whether you have Tyler Shough out there or you have Taysom Hill out there, like they know you're going to run. You're trying to run out the clock. So like that's a perfect scenario for Taysom Hill, and he took advantage. And you're talking about what were the runs? You had a 4-yard run, a 5-yard run, a 2-yard run, a 5-yard run. 2 of them were third down conversions for first downs, right? And so, a 2-yard run or 2.5-yard run isn't ideal until you're trying to burn the clock and they know you're going to run and you're still getting 2.5, 3, and then you get a first down. And you know how hard it is to run out the final 7.5 minutes of a game? The other team has timeouts. They used them, and you still ended the game. And that's got to be, it's like watching Army play. You ever watch Army play and they get the ball and it's just this like weird, like triple option. And it's like, okay, 4 yards to get 10 or 4 downs to get 10. Let's see what happens. And then it's like so infuriating to watch your team not be able to stop it. Like Tulane last year in the bowl game or in the AAC championship game, whatever. Like that's how it felt. And so like Taysom's still going to be a part of this team. And like that situation, I think that is a dream to have him in. And a lot of the other ones, I'm starting to lose faith that it's going to get back to that dynamic Taysom that we remember. So I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, I was just like, no. I want to see Shough throwing it.
Well, right. Yeah, like, I don't, what are we gaining here? Like, there was a 1-yard run on a 2nd and 3. There was a 1-yard run on a 3rd and 2. It's not what I want.
Those 1-yarders and Alvin seem to be getting a bunch of 3-yarders.
Alvin played well. That was kind of a if Alvin, maybe they should trade Alvin to the Panthers so we could play more in Bank of America Stadium because he just shines in that building. I don't know what it is. It's he feels comfortable. That Carolina, gets a pimento dip in him and is just ready to go.
Keep pounding.
Keep pounding. All right. I do also want to shout out Kai Kroger. Can you stop with that like 126-yard punt a game? Driving me nuts.
Right.
Because I actually thought he punted pretty well in this game. I thought he punted pretty well last week, but it's like every week he's good for one like 30-yarder. And it's kind of infuriating.
No, I feel you on that. That's definitely who knows, Jeff. I definitely don't think that there's anything set in stone for next season, but I would imagine that there's going to be a punter competition ongoing. Right at this point, it's like what is it worth? Like trying to find somebody out there, but I definitely don't think Kroger's safe for next season.
Yeah, it's. I think we may be in the rookie punter number 4 next year.
Right.
But maybe, I don't know. He's got time. Maybe he can do something.
Sure.
But that's it. You got anything else before we move on to the good stuff?
No, let's be positive.
I can't do it twice on the same show, man. Gosh, what's wrong with me? But all right, who dat? That was a stock down. We're going to come back.
I don't know.
Say that again.
I said something with Olivia Newton-John. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's your turn. You sing. But no, who dat? Go Saints. We did the stock down. Now we're coming back with the stock up. Make sure to subscribe. Hit me up on Twitter at Jeff_Nowak. You can follow Steve at Steve Geller WWL. You can follow the show at Saints_pod, although I'm terrible about posting that account. I appreciate that people follow it. It's basically just my way of telling you when we're not recording. But we're going to keep going. Make sure to ring the bell on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube and leave a rating review on Apple Podcasts if you get it there. Or if you just have it on your phone, because most people have iPhones, because that's where it is. And you can go and just hit the button, and it's good stuff. Anyway, who dat? Go Saints. We'll be right back. Hey, y'all. Oh, wait, no. Why am I'm saying that as if I'm starting the episode. I mean, we have recorded basically 2 individual podcasts already, and now we're doing a third. And we're back on Inside Black and Gold. Jeff Nowak here with Steve Geller, the Steve Geller from WWL Radio, the voice. You know Chris Miller? I think.
Yeah.
He's the one who called it on TV yesterday. You know what I'm talking about? Who called
Chris Miller? I know our newscaster, Chris Miller.
That's who I'm confusing it with. Who called the game on TV yesterday?
Oh, I don't know. I just know the radio. Wasn't Schley? I think Schlereth was doing the color.
It was Schlereth and let's see.
Yeah, I don't know who the
Chris Myers. Chris Myers. It was Chris Myers.
Chris
Not
Myers.
Chris Miller. Chris Miller is our coworker. I was
Right.
close. I got to Chris and them.
I was like, yeah, I know Chris Miller.
I was he's just got one. Chris Myers has one of those voices, right? It's just so distinctive. And I was sitting there eating my like pregame meal before going down to the field, and I was just kind of getting my notes for the sideline and whatnot. And I hear this voice next to me, and I'm just like, I thought it was on the TV.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, but there's no game on. Like, what is happening? And he's also talking about like prime rib. Like, what's happening? And I look over and I'm like, oh, he's just sitting right there. And it was just so funny because it's like you hear that voice and it's you associate it with the TV, and then you see him saying it in person. You're like, oh, it's jarring. And I'd like you to know that I'm sure there's people who feel that way about you. Like they hear your voice in a grocery store and they're just like, why do I know that?
I know you, right? It was funny, like a long time ago. It was like in Marshalls or somewhere getting shoes, and the guy's like, "Oh, I know that voice, WWL, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, yeah. Traffic," and I was like, "No, I'm not the traffic guy."
Yeah, but it's the Sports Flash, which is right after traffic a lot of the time.
Right,
so
there you go.
I understand why, and it's just kind of, and I think on radio it's so specific too because, like, I know what Chris Myers looks like. Because they flash up to the radio or the TV booth during the game, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I know his face. But like radio, that doesn't happen. So like, a lot of people probably have no idea what you look like, but they recognize your voice. Anyway, that's completely an
thanks to the Inside Black and Gold YouTube page, though they do.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We're changing the game over here on the YouTubes. But anyway, Steve Geller. Let's get into the stock up. We already talked about Tyler Shough, so. That's in this. That if you got here late and you want to talk about hear about Tyler, we talked about it for like a half hour. So if you want to go back to the beginning of the episode, that's where you can get that. For the stock up segment, we're going to talk about everything else. So Steve, give me your number one stock up from Saints-Panthers.
Man, that game, I was so happy, Jeff. I had the stars in my eyes and just glowing after seeing the return of chunk plays, a 52-yarder, a 62-yarder. What's going on? I mean, it was just nice to have that kind of breathtaking excitement from the offense. We just have not seen it all this year. So that, like I said, it was like, oh my goodness, am I watching the Saints right now?
Yeah, no, it's and a lot of them came on third and long. So it's like two things that the Saints weren't doing was converting third and longs and hitting and getting chunk plays. And they solved both of those things in one fell swoop. Because all of their chunk plays came on third and longs. But no, Juwan Johnson, one of the fascinating things about Juwan Johnson over the last 2 weeks is not that he's hit on these big plays. Like he had the 30-yard, or I don't know if it was a 30-yard touchdown. It was like a 20-yard touchdown against the Rams. Yeah. And then he had the 30-yard touchdown against the Panthers and also the 52-yard game. Was that all three of those plays were not like designed to go to him. It was just like kind of, there were chemistry plays. There were, the tight ends being friendly to the quarterback and getting open and the quarterback's finding him. And that's a really positive thing, in my opinion, in terms of the impact Juwan Johnson can have on this team. And because I look at like the elite tight end quarterback pairings, and you look at like Travis Kelce. And Travis Kelce's not like the greatest athlete in the world. Like he's an elite athlete. Like, don't get me wrong, but like when you look at some of the tight ends in the NFL, like he's not the fastest, he's not the tallest, he's not the strongest, but his connection with Pat Mahomes and their ability to basically read each other's minds is what's allowed him to be so otherworldly, like Hall of Fame successful over the course of his career. And especially the last 8 or so years when Pat Mahomes has been the quarterback. And I'm not saying Juwan Johnson's going to be Travis Kelce, but when you see those types of plays being made off schedule and you see the comfortability and the chemistry that exists between those guys, and remember, they go all the way back to Oregon. They were teammates at Oregon like 7 years ago. They were roommates, for Christ's sakes. And like, those are the type of plays that just didn't exist over the first 8 or so weeks of the season, the scramble plays, right? And, I went back and I looked like, okay, where does Juwan Johnson rank statistically in terms of the NFL tight ends? right now. And this is how that looks. So targets, 60. That's fourth in the NFL. Catches, 43. That's sixth in the NFL among all tight ends. Not all pass catches, but tight ends specifically. Yardage, 491. That's fourth in the NFL. Touchdowns, 3. That's tied for 13th. That's kind of a high variance thing. It's more of a situational thing. But he has had touchdowns in each of the last 2 weeks. So that number could keep climbing if Tyler keeps looking for him. 20-plus yard receptions, 6. That's tied for 5th among tight ends. Yards per catch, minimum 25. That's where I set the floor. 11.4, which is 9th. So not exactly the most dynamic, but we did see a 52-yard play yesterday. So, that number is going to tick up if we continue to see that. And then remember, so the average contract value is $10.25 million. He signed that 3-year, $30 whatever $1 million contract, $31 million, whatever. That's 13th among tight ends. So you're getting top 10 tight end value. And
it was nice yesterday too. 4 targets, 4 receptions.
Right, and he didn't drop the ball, and that's
right.
Right. He's dropping passes. He needs to sort that out, and I think he can. Is he ever going to be the elite 100% catch rate guy? No, but there's things he can do. Like you saw him open up on that run, that catch and run. Not a lot of tight ends turn that into a 52-yard play. A lot of tight ends, maybe you catch it, get 10 yards. Like that 25-yard run where a guy bounced off of him and he really got it. Like that's the type of explosive play you can get from him, and that's why you paid him. And my thing was, and I know like people like to hate on players. My thing was with Juwan, you're going to pay him like a top 15 tight end. I need to, at minimum, see him get the usage of a top 15 tight end. Because I think if you give him the usage, the numbers will come. And there's more to playing tight end than just catching passes. But the statistics are what you look at the end of the day. He's never going to be the top blocker as a tight end. But if you can be an explosive pass catcher, then you can make up for that. Travis Kelce has never been an elite blocker either. And so my thing was like, hey, if you can get him 90 targets, 100 targets, then his numbers are going to be up there in the top 10, and thus the contract was worth it. And that's happened. 60 targets. Juwan Johnson's career high in targets is 66. He's going to blow away all of his career marks this season, and he might do it next week. He might do it. He won't do it next week. They're on a bye. He might do it in week 12. He has 7 games left, and he is 6 targets shy of his career high. So catches, 43. His career high in catches is 50. He set that last year. His career high in yardage is 548. He set that last year. His career high in touchdowns is 7. That'll probably, I don't know if he'll break that, but like, to me, the question with Juwan was like, if you're not going to feature him like a tight end, or like a top 10 tight end, it doesn't make sense to pay him like one. They are featuring him like a top 10 tight end, or at least getting him the usage of a top 10 tight end. And if all he would do is stop dropping the passes that hit him in the hands, these numbers would be up in the top 2. So we'll see. And like I said, like the first 8 games of the year and how things went with Spencer Rattler and the offense, and it's like, that is what it is. It sure looks like Tyler Shough and Juwan have a pretty strong connection. So who's to say that those numbers don't climb drastically over the final 7 games? And if that's the case, you're already seeing statistically a top 10 tight end from the numbers. And if that goes up even more, then that contract's going to not look okay. It's going to look like a steal. So I think that kind of goes in, like, if you're getting chunk plays out of your tight end, that's a win.
You mentioned like having a connection with Juwan. I know the stock ups too is going to have to talk about Chris Olave. Obviously a big day for him, got over 100 yards, but man, oh man, Jeff, that one-handed grab, I'm like, where you been? Where you been, Chris?
Well, that's why the hands are driving me nuts. And like, just Juwan has always had kind of sketchy hands. Like you kind of expect, yeah, okay, he's going to have some of these moments where you're like, Chris, like throughout his career, has been an elite hands guy. And that's why the first 6 games or so, when you saw all those drops, it's like, well, what the hell, man? And I don't know if maybe he had something in his head of like, okay, I'm trying to catch it and get down, and maybe he was losing concentration. I don't know. I don't think he would say that was the case, but you you see a guy dropping balls, it's not usually dropping balls. You have to wonder. I think he's kind of getting over that. Like, we haven't seen those drops the last few weeks. It helps when the ball is like in your breadbasket on a 62-yard catch and run, and you're just catching it easily in stride, like in your frame. Like, that was a beautiful deep ball. And like, we haven't played any clips today. Usually we play some clips. There's so much I wanted to talk about. We haven't gotten to them, but like Chris did talk about, this time last year, he was getting stretchered off the field and taken to a hospital and thinking maybe my career's over. I don't know. Like, it's his second concussion of the season, fourth of his career. And he talked about, hey, I went back into that building and, he didn't expect it, but like, he just had like anxiety, like all that trauma kind of rushed back. And, he talked to his dad who was in the stands and talked to coaches and teammates, and they helped him through it. But like, that's real. Like, that type of trauma is real. And so I thought it was cool to hear him talk about that, because a lot of people just would pretend that doesn't happen when it objectively and obviously does. And so to see him not only kind of work through that, to have that long, it probably helps when the first catch of the day is a 62-yard touchdown, jumps into the stands, getting booed, and like, he's having a good time. Like, everything was fun. And like, Chris, when things are going poorly for him, it's pretty clear that it's like, you can see in his body language, he's not having a good time. And so I think when you're having fun playing football and you're making those plays and you're just kind of flowing, like, that's a big thing for him. And, we talked going into the game, like in the preseason, he got on Keith Williams and was like, I'm a deep threat, man. Throw me the ball down the field. I haven't had a 50+ yard catch in 2 years. He didn't say that. I said that. Now he's had 3 this year. You traded Rashid Shaheed. He's that guy now. And he can be that guy. So it's good.
Yeah, for all the times we've talked about, like you said, with the misses or the drops, whatever was going on, that was definitely nice to see. The fact that you mentioned a connection with Juwan, I thought the Olave connections there too, and yeah, we got lots of positivity to build on going into a bye week and coming out against the Dirty Birds.
Bordelise says he needs a new touchdown celebration. What, you didn't like the? It was so awkward. And the best part is you could see like the fans behind him, like, because those are like the rich people seats, man. Yeah. So no, I agree with you. The way I phrased it was like big play Olave. Because we've seen it 50+ yard catches are kind of rare in today's NFL, and to have 3 of them in the span of 5 weeks. That's a pretty big number.
I hope someone gives him like a still shot of that one-handed grab, though.
It was nice. And I appreciate that he didn't have to make it because he got fouled, but he made it anyway, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'll never forget the Odell Beckham Jr. catch, right? And it's like, what made it special was obviously the catch, but also that like Brandon Carr, I think, who was the defender on that play,
draped on him,
was all over him, and you made the catch anyway, and that's what makes it special, and obviously like that was in this Chris's catch was not in the realm of that OBJ catch, but
no, but it was definitely one of those, like, he needed that kind of, that's a dog catch right there, you would kind of say.
No, because we've seen him make those catches. We know he can make those catches, and that's why when he's dropping balls, you're just like, what the hell? Because he does have that, and I think it's like just remembering that you're capable of that and you're getting out of your own head. I think that's going to help him. And I don't know, like maybe the quarterback throws a more catchable ball. There's something to be said for that. Again, that deep ball, we've seen Chris have chances at deep balls that didn't hit, and Spencer did hit him on a few deep balls too. He threw the 2 50-yarders prior to this, but then there was a few that it felt like he was fighting them. Like he just wasn't sure where the ball was going to be coming in. Maybe it wasn't located exactly where he wanted to. Dude, that he just put his hands out in front of him and the ball was there. It was beautiful. And I appreciate it. Shough had another nice throw to Vele that I'm a little disappointed. He could have got his second toe down. He just didn't. It was almost like he forgot he wasn't in college and you got to get 2. And that would have been like a 30-40 yard catch. So there was some deep throws. And that throw, it bugs me that it didn't happen, because if you go back and you watch it, if it was a catch, you would have seen the highlight over and over again. because it was like a hard pump fake, and then he put it up, and it was like, oh, because you can see the safety bite down, and he had it. It was gorgeous. It was a double move, and it was timed perfectly. It was like an inch. But no, like the explosive plays, Chris Olave, Juwan Johnson, and the quarterback, and even Devon. Like if you add that to this offense, it changes everything.
Jeff, I learned the tight end's name, and I found Foster Moreau. I haven't seen him forever.
You're talking about my guy, Zaire Mitchell-Payton?
Yeah. Zaire, baby.
He's a big dude. And I've been looking forward to, Jack Stoll's dealing with an injury, so he was able to get in there. But, like, he should be a plus blocker. And when you watch him at practice, you're just like, okay, I get why, because he's just massive. But it was cool to see him get in on the action, right? That was a 14-yard catch, and it was in a pretty big moment, right? Like, I mean,
right, that's why I'm scrambling going, who is that?
Right. And I mean, like, so this is a catch that set up the touchdown. Like that catch was, got you a first down on the drive that ended in the Juwan Johnson touchdown that really put the game away. Like, if he drops that, if he's just not, you never know. You're thrown to a guy for the first time, at least in a game, he's just like, okay, I'm going to trust you. And if you catch it, maybe I'll trust you again. So who knows? But no, it's, I was talking with Newell, and one of the things you appreciate when you look at the stat sheet is, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 8 different receivers caught passes. One of them, Zaire. Taysom Hill also got a target. But you look at, okay, so Devin Neal got 3 targets. Devon Vallée got 3 targets. Foster Moreau got 3 targets. Alvin Kamara got 3 targets. Juwan Johnson got 4 targets. Chris Olave got 8 targets. Like, it's not just that you're spreading the ball around, you're spreading the ball around with multiple opportunities. And so it just makes life so difficult on a defense. Like, you can't just key in on one guy, even though, Juwan and Chris are your primaries. But you prove to the defense that you're willing to go anywhere with the ball, and suddenly their job gets a lot harder. So even just like throwing to Zaire one time to prove that it's like, hey, if you leave him open, I'm going to throw it to him. Like, that's offense.
No, there were so many moments that just brought a smile to your face in this, and it wasn't the shootout or anything going on, but to see things, I guess, being successfully executed from a squad that's just been struggling and getting those, it looks like, a dude you can build around, and just want to see more from Shough and Shough leading the crew now.
No doubt. I also want to give credit to the defensive line.
No doubt, sacks. Dude. Man, Rico Dowdle's talk got squashed.
Yeah, seriously. No one's talking about Rico Dowdle right now, and it's because they shut him down. He had 53 yards, 2.9 yards per carry. Chuba didn't really do much. And so, like, Nathan Shepard, I talked to, things are going well when I'm not in there talking to Nathan Shepard, because man just doesn't really talk much. But it's not for lack of having things to say. Like, I was expecting him to be like very short, but like he had really eloquent. Did you listen? I sent it in.
Yeah.
You should listen. Play it for Bobby, because Bobby always talks about Nathan. It's like, I've never heard him talk. Well, you can now. And like, he had some really, really kind of insightful things to say. And he's had a really good year. Like, when you look at, okay, who's kind of surprised you? If you picked, like, if we did an episode where we said, okay, who's
no doubt
the under the radar player that has really kind of exceeded expectations, like, he's probably it on the defensive line.
I questioned a role for him on this team.
Yeah, because you had high expectations for Chase Young, for Brian Brzee, for whatever. But, like, he's a guy that I didn't really expect much out of. And it's like, he had a sack in this game. He had a quarterback pressure. He's been pretty effective against the run. So now I just want to give that whole group credit. Even Chase Young, he didn't get a sack in this game, but he had one play where he just, like, enveloped Rico Dowdle, who kept trying to spin out, and Chase just kept, like, spinning him in circles. No, I mean, that whole group, Cam Jordan, good to see him get a sack, 125 sacks past, who did he pass? Dwight Freeney, maybe? Okay. He already passed Robert Mathis. I'd have to go back and look, but he passed someone significant on the all-time sacks list. And I mean, like, this is a pretty productive year for Cam, all things considered, when you think of, like, okay, how many reps is he getting? He's a 36-year-old. A lot of people say he doesn't have anything left in the tank. Well, he made some big plays. Got 3.5 sacks in the year. So I just think they set the tone for this game in a way that you needed.
Yeah. I'd even say shout out to Pete Werner and Demario Davis. That It was nice to see them, like, everything was working in sync. We talk about complementary offense and defense, but even that duo together was working together really well.
Yeah, and I'll lump Alontae Taylor in there too, because that's
Yeah,
kinda
no doubt.
that's kind of your front seven, right? Like the nickel corner is basically a linebacker. And he got upfield. He had a really nice run stuff on Rico Dowdle. Like I mentioned, that the fumble where he just blew up Jalen Coker and allowed Pete Werner to get that fumble recovery. Like, these guys get paid based on stats. And so I guarantee you in film review next week, because they actually got today off, so they're not doing film review this week. But next on Monday or Tuesday, when they go in there and they start going through the film, I have a feling he's going to get a shout out or two in a team meeting, because that's a selfless play.
Right.
Like you want the stat, you want the fumble recovery, because when he's in a contract year, he wants to be able to go in there and show all the numbers he can, so that he can get all the numbers from the team that he can. And instead, he just blows up Jalen Coker, who's the only Panthers player who had a chance to recover it. Trusted that the players behind him, his teammates, were going to rally to the ball, and they did. So cool for him.
It was like a pay it forward thing. The football god smiled upon him as well. He got an interception.
He got his interception.
Right.
Yeah. It almost felt like Bryce was throwing it to him.
Here you go.
I need to go back and look, because I have no idea what Bryce was trying to throw. It was a right to him. It was kind of a robber play. I don't think he expected him to be there. I think Alontae kind of baited him, because he said, like, he was getting a little too aggressive, getting toward the line of scrimmage, because his role is to drop. But he got like a little further up than he's probably instructed to do, but he was still able to get to the ball, so it worked out. But he was like a little nervous his coach were going to give him a hard time, because he kind of took his own license there. But who knows? Maybe because he was so far up, Bryce was like, "Oh, he's not dropping; he's coming." So there's something there. But let's see, just to make sure I didn't miss anybody, because there's so much that went well in this game that
Blake Grupe
made his 26-yard kick. Mentioned
shout out to the color rush.
Yeah, they won a game in their alternate helmet for the first time.
Woo-hoo!
Good for them, and it's good because that's a really good uniform combination. And it would be a
you don't
shame
want
if
to
they
have
just...
like the same stigma curse that the black helmets do.
Exactly. So it's nice that they were able to wash off some of that odor. So we can just get back to using it more often, because like that is a uniform combination that I really like, and I'd like to
look
see
good.
So Devon Vele, he didn't have a huge game. Obviously missed that big catch, but he was on the field for like 98% of the snaps, and that's what I wanted to see. The numbers will come over time. Like you'll get more productive days, but having a 6'5" wide receiver on the field basically the entire game, that's an advantage for the offense. And the play I'll shout out is, if you go look at that Alvin Kamara screen, I tweeted this, watch 14. Watch him 20 yards downfield, squaring up a defensive back and driving him 7 yards, which if Alvin is able to avoid him, that probably creates 15, 20 more yards on that play. Alvin kind of ran into his back, which was a little frustrating because it was set up really well. And, it was still a 25, 30-yard gain, so you're not going to nitpick. But, like, that's just again, like you talk about, okay, Alontae's going to get credit in the team meeting for the play that, isn't going to get all the attention because he didn't recover the fumble. He just allowed his teammate to do it. I guarantee you Devon is going to get a lot of plaudits in team meetings for that type of blocking effort. Devin Neal had a career day, 22 yards on 4 carries. I do think that he was a little responsible for the blown assignment on the near safety that Shough was able, like the reason he was in the area to get the ball dumped at his feet was because he should have blocked the guy who was blitzing. But it was, he was able to get there. He had the nice catch for the first down, 4 carries, 22 yards, nice average. Being like just another option that you can trust is positive.
Yeah, that was a scary moment for sure.
Yeah, you give the quarterback credit for knowing that he was able to dump it. I assume he knew, and it wasn't just a lucky situation. And also give Dylan Radins and Awesome Richards credit for, stepping in. And, Awesome, I think he had some struggle moments. That's a talented defensive line. But it didn't blow up the game. So
No, considering where they were at the moment, obviously we know McCoy's out for the season. You just got rid of a guy, Trevor Penning, and then you have Fuaga down, and it was like, this doesn't smell good.
Yeah, like I was worried that the pressure off the right side was going to be the story we talked about, and it was a little bit, but Tyler navigated it well. And your offensive linemen appreciate when they mess up or they get beat, and you as a quarterback create a play, because then no one's talking about the offensive line.
Right.
Like they'll be your best friend. You got to help them out sometimes, though. Okay, one more, and then I'll let you go, Steve. The blue medical tent only went up one time, and Tyler Shough went in there, and I don't know what he was doing, but it was not anything major. Deuce thinks he needed to relieve himself. I don't know if that's true or not. I wasn't watching, but wasn't an issue. And so no injuries in that game, at least in the sense that they required treatment. And anytime I can say that, that's a win. And since we have a week but without having to play a football game, I finally feel like I can say this without jinxing anybody. Ted Rath and his system has really, I think, paid dividends for this group. And we've seen injuries. Injuries are going to happen.
Sure.
Like especially like tears and stuff. There's really nothing you can do about it. But from the soft tissue variety, like the hamstring pulls and stuff like that. Like obviously Chase Young's is a frustrating one early in the year, but they navigated it and he hasn't missed a game since. Like that's a positive. And going forward, knowing that you feel like you have that system and we're not going to go into the offseason being like, Jesus Christ, okay, how are we going to, that's a stock up for me.
No, and yeah, keeping your guys on the field is huge. And little shout out too, Jeff. You don't realize how much the rookies are really getting a run. So many rookies getting opportunities this year, and that's one of the reasons. Obviously, this team is in the rebuild mode. But man, oh man, it's nice to see a lot of the young guys contributing, especially now with your second round pick and Tyler Shough leading the way.
Yeah, if you're going to be 2-8, you need that to be 2-8 with a lot of young players getting a lot of important snaps, and that's been the case. But all right, Steve, I know you got to head out. You gotta do football dad stuff.
Yeah, football dad stuff.
Yeah, so we're gonna end this episode right here. It was a fun one. I enjoyed this. This 90 minutes flew by. What can you say? Who dat? Go Saints. 2-8, winning vibes. I think we're going to take the rest of the week off with the team, so don't expect an episode this week, but we'll get back into a normal schedule starting next week. And we'll have to talk about how we want to do the previews the rest of the way. I think maybe we keep doing the crossover episode, but then just keep that its own episode basically, rather than do a full preview for every game. But if they keep winning, who knows? Maybe we keep doing it until they lose a game again.
We're not doing the bourbon on the bye week podcast.
I mean, I'm going to be drinking plenty of bourbon. I just won't be doing it live on YouTube. So I think that's a fair way to assess. But all right.
Cheers to the bye week, folks.
Who dat? Win the bye.
Who dat?
Go Saints. Thanks everyone for hanging out. 2-8. Peace, y'all. All right.
Later, man. Thank you.
Bye, Steve. Get out. I'm going to do our secret mailbag edition. I'm still here. How do I do this? Okay. Normally I have a banner, but I did not plan ahead. So there's no Kellen Moore press conference today. I don't know if y'all are aware of this. Excuse me. But they are doing a Zoom call. So I'm going to try to answer some questions real quick here before that happens. Thanks everyone for hanging out on the show as always. Hey, Jerry G, always hanging out. Victory Monday. That's a nice feeling, right? Victory Monday. We haven't had a lot of those over the last few years. I was talking the other day, like 2 years ago, the Saints went 9-8. and we talked about it like it was the end of the world. It was terrible. And it was for a lot of that season. It was a rough season, and the Derek Carr experience wasn't exactly fun for a lot of people. But man, wouldn't you kill for 9-8 right now? If the Saints somehow found a way to go 9-8, they won't. It's like virtually impossible. They'd have to win their final 6 games or 7 games. But 9-8. Wow. Yeah, and all the other NFC South teams lost this week. The Bucs lost to the Patriots. Travion Henderson went off. The Falcons, poor Atlanta, lost to the Colts over in Berlin. They went all the way to Germany to lose in overtime to the Colts. They are now 3-6 and don't have their first round pick for next year because they were bold. They were like, "This is our year, man. We're going to trade that away. We're going to feel good about it." And they're currently slotted to give away the number 9 overall pick to the Rams. So make sure, if you ever run into a Falcons fan, make sure to twist their arm about that because I think it is hilarious. And I have some receipts from Falcons fans from the draft time that I'm going to be pulling out over eventually, maybe next week. Well, Hildebrand says, "Shuck, yeah." Mr. Wallace says, "Shuck looks the part." And I think that's what gives me the most confidence about Tyler. It's not that, he had a big game. Like I watched Jackson Dart have some really nice games, but you watch it happen and you're like, he's not playing like a long-term pocket, like NFL quarterback. He's playing like a guy who's using his athleticism and finding ways, taking a lot of big hits. And as we've seen with the Giants, like that style of play can lead to injuries. And all the positive vibes for the Giants kind of went away with the injuries. They fired the head coach, but like Tyler Shough out there looks like that's how an NFL quarterback. You're like, okay, like he's playing the game the right way. I pre-injury Carson Wentz is the comparison I go with, and a lot of people were like, "How could you say that? That's terrible." And I think a lot of people have forgotten just how good pre-injury Carson Wentz was. He was the number 2 pick in the draft. He was playing like an MVP candidate in 2017, the year the Eagles won the Super Bowl with Nick Foles. Then he blew out his knee and he just was never the same. But like from a size, from a build, from like a style of play perspective, I think there's a lot of positive correlations that can be made there. And that's not to say like I think he's going to blow out his knee. I'm just saying like that's the type of player I think you have. And who knows if Carson Wentz never blows out his knee, maybe he's a Super Bowl champion. Maybe his career goes differently. So I think there's kind of a mix there, but that's who I see. And again, that's a positive thing. Senor Michael says, "One damn game if Spencer had the same support." Yeah, I mean, Spencer did play with like the full offensive line, so you got to give him that bonus as well, or at least the majority of it. Tyler Shough hasn't played a game with Eric McCoy. That's a big downgrade. So there's some balance there, but the competition that Spencer was asked to play, we talked about this in the podcast, was definitely a little higher. So I agree with that. Andy Shira says, "Love the positivity." Yeah, I think that's the nice thing is we've spent so much time being negative about this team. It's nice to have a couple days where we can, just talk about happy things, talk about how things can go well as opposed to how everything has gone terribly. St. John Butler, thanks for hanging out. Says, "Look at us stopping the run." Yeah. I mean, what were the numbers in this game? Let's see. Rico Dowdle, 18 for 53, 2.9 yards. He did have the touchdown along of 14. Chuba Hubbard, 3 carries for 14 yards. Bryce Young, 2 carries for 6 yards. This is a Panthers team that basically has made their identity rushing the football. So if you can do that, you can beat the Panthers team as we saw. I don't know. Ted McMillan was also dealing with a hamstring injury. I don't know how much that limited him, but definitely didn't do a ton to break down the Saints. And, the turnovers really kind of put the nail in their coffin. Debbie Faucha says, "It is coming for him. The best is yet to come for Chris." I hope so. I really do. I really like Chris Olave. He's a good dude. Got so much talent. And, like that's why, and I said this during the show, like that's one of the reasons it was so frustrating to watch is that, he's got good hands. He's got elite hands. You just weren't seeing it. And there were missed opportunities or missed ops, as Kellen Moore likes to say. drives me nuts every time I hear it. Every time I hear the word ops from Kellen Moore and a basketball metaphor from Brandon Staley, I'm just like, can we do something else? Can we? Is it really necessary to shorten opportunities? Is it? I don't think it is. I think we can say the whole word. But hey, Border Lee says Jawan remembered how to catch balls this week. He's actually, I think, the last several weeks you've seen him be more consistent, and we'll see. Like I think, I talked to him coming off the field. Like there is definitely chemistry with Shough and Jawan, and like Jawan is too talented to continue to have the struggles that he had. Since the fumble against the Patriots, I think he's really kind of locked in, which, the fumble against the Patriots was brutal, but hey. Ozzy fan says it is too telegraphed with Hill. He's either running up the gut or to the outside. Let Taysom throw and mix it up. Something different needs to be done with him. Yeah, it's tough because how many reps do you want him on the field for? And what are you sending him in there? If you're sending him in there on 4th and 2, he's in there to run. And the beauty of the Taysom Hill offense, as it has been, is it didn't matter that you were telegraphing it. He was still getting 2-3 yards. It's so difficult to stop. It just that hasn't been the consistency this year, and I think that's what's made it frustrating. How much does the offensive line have to do with that? I don't know, but it hasn't been good. Let's put it that way. Jay Sizzle says Kellen Moore is looking suspect. Will Hildebrand wants me to breathe. Yeah, it's funny because these comments, as I go through them, I can tell what I was talking about when the comments were made. I'm probably being harsher than is needed on a first-year head coach who's kind of learning on the job. And I said this before, like, learning to be a head coach is a real thing. Like, developing as a coach, developing as a decision maker, that has to happen the same way that young players have to develop into, professionals. And for whatever reason, it's you don't give the coach the same grace as the players. But he's the youngest coach in the NFL. There's going to be learning curves. There's going to be things that happen that he probably wants back. And the important thing is, like, over time you improve. And I don't know, throughout the course of a season, it's probably tough to do that level of self-scouting when you're trying to create a game plan for the next week and you're trying to do this. It might be something that over the off season you really kind of dive in and take a look at from an analytical perspective. And I hope he does. But yeah, Akeem Batiste says, good win. Let's build on it going forward, especially next game. I need that win in 2 weeks. Failcons fans are the most delusional group out there. I tend to agree with that. But I don't know if they're delusional. Their season sucks. The Dog family says, if we could surround Shough with a great line and wide receivers, his ceiling could be Josh Allen, like 6'5", big arm moves great. Side throws are insane for a rookie. Yeah, I don't know if Josh Allen isn't the comp I would use. I think they're very different players. And Josh Allen has like a generational arm in terms of arm strength. I don't think, like, Tyler has a good arm, a more than strong enough arm to get the job done as a quarterback, but he's not Josh Allen. And I don't think he's ever going to be the type of runner that Josh Allen is. He's athletic. Again, some combination of Jared Goff, rookie Carson Wentz, or young Carson Wentz. And again, if you don't think that's a positive comparison, pre-injury Carson Wentz, go look at his highlights from the 2017 season prior to the injury. I think he had like 33 touchdowns and 7 interceptions that year. He was on pace for like well over 4,000 yards. And the offense was obviously very talented. Nick Foles took it over and won a Super Bowl with it. But like, that's who I see, is that level of athleticism, that level of playmaking. The Dog family are talking about, okay, the Panthers dominated the Packers. Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad defense. Like, you can talk about the offense. The offense isn't particularly good. Very low yield. But, yeah, I think the defense was performing very well. Like, they held the Packers to, 13 points? Okay. Mal says, other coaches say ops as well. Get out of the Saints bubble sometimes. Yeah, I don't care what other coaches say. It doesn't mean I like just because other coaches say it. Like, I think a lot of the stuff Kellen does is based on stuff he's picked up over the course of time. It's like the same way, like, I've heard other coaches say, keep chopping wood. It doesn't mean I'm not going to clown Dennis Allen about it. Yeah, anyway. But yeah, Mal, negative. Makes sense. Name checks out. But also, no, I'm not leaving my bubble. I like my bubble. My bubble's fun. I'm going to stay in my bubble. You're welcome to join, but this is my bubble. I'm going to keep it. Yeah. St. John Butler got that's some interesting emojis you got there. This is like Hulk. Like, what is that? Looks almost like Face. Remember Face from like Nickelodeon? It was just that was their mascot. It was just I'm going to turn the TV screen green and I'm going to draw a little face on it, and that's our mascot. Didn't have a mouth though. It's definitely not Face. Either way. That's it. I think I got through most of the comments here. Kellen Moore's doing a Zoom right now, so I'm going to hop in there. One thing I want to ask him about, I'm not sure if I'm going to ask him today, but keep an eye on this. Will Clapp, I think, is an assistant coach. I think he has transitioned from IR to assistant coach, and it's just a question of being on paper. Do not be surprised if this time, or if in the offseason, there is a press release to say Will Clapp is retiring from football, and he will be an assistant coach with the Saints. Because he's on the sideline with like a headset and clipboard. He's like literally coaching the offensive line. So keep an eye on that. And at some point, I'll ask Will if I see him or the coach, because it's very interesting. I've never seen that happen before, because he's right on the fringe of like, is he done? Like, is a season-ending hip injury at his stage of his career the end of his career? Maybe. But anyway, that's the last thing I'll say. Thanks everyone for hanging out. As always, a lot of fun to do this after a win. It's very tiring to do this constantly negative all year. Face was not annoying. Face was an institution. I don't even remember. I was too young. He probably was. He probably was annoying. If I was an adult at the time, I'm like, get this guy out of here. But either way, thanks y'all. Who dat? Go Saints. Again, this is going to be our only episode for the week. We're going to be coming back next week, normal schedule. Going to take some time off. I advise you to do the same. Enjoy yourselves. Really soak in the win. All right. Peace, y'all. Thanks.